Hi there, it's Nicole from Mama Elephant, and today I have a card featuring the Oh Happy Birds stamps and dies, as well as the Happy Valentine's Day die, and a couple of the new Dotted Detail Creative Cuts dies. So lots of brand new stamps and dies here from Mama Elephant today, and I'm going to be creating a Valentine's themed card. To start, I am going to be die cutting the Dotted Detail little bitty skinny frame. I absolutely love this. I love the look of these really skinny frames like this. And this is an awesome die because it has that great dotted detail to it. So it's not just even a plain skinny frame. It's got that nice texture. I'm die cutting that from some watercolor cardstock. And then from that inside piece from the dotted detail frame, I am going to die cut the Happy Valentine's Day script style die. This is a really intricate die, and so I am using the metal shim for both the dotted detail die and this Happy Valentine's Day so that I get a really crisp, clear die cut image. I don't want any parts of it to stick and have to cut them out because it's just so intricate. Now I am going to go ahead and just throw away that bottom half of this panel, or I could even save it for something else if I wanted to. And I'm going to keep this top portion as well as the die cut words Happy Valentine's Day. Along the top, I'm going to apply some Picked Raspberry Distress ink, and then I'm going to blend some Spun Sugar Distress ink into that Picked Raspberry ink to give a little color to this panel. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of inlay style here. That's why I'm going to go ahead and keep this top portion. However, not everything's going to be inlay. This is going to overlay a bottom panel that I'm going to create, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. Now I want it to get really light near where the word is going to go, so I'm not even applying that spun sugar all the way to where it's die cut. I'm going to go ahead and pop out any of those inside pieces from Happy Valentine's Day. I'm just using the Tim Holtz piercing tool to pop all of those out. Originally, my thought was I would inlay those back in, and then I realized I really didn't need to do that for this design. Where this scripty greeting is going to overlay the bottom panel, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference with the color. So although I kept all these pieces and I did apply some spun sugar ink to them, I actually did not need them and I ended up throwing them away. So either way, if you want to use them, you definitely can. If you don't want to mess with those teeny tiny pieces, then go ahead and get rid of them. They are kind of a pain to work with. The look is awesome if you go ahead and do that, depending on like the colors you use and things like that. Now for the Happy Valentine's Day, I am using the new Candied Apple Distress ink. This is an awesome red. It's really nice and bright, and I think it works perfectly for Valentine's Day, Christmas, anytime you need a really bold, bright red. It definitely is a candied apple red. I'm going to apply that to the Happy Valentine's Day, and then I'm going to kind of just set that aside and apply some water to this top piece. Just going to kind of see how that looks. That looks great. I'm going to take the Distress sprayer, spritz that top panel with some water, let it sit for just a few seconds, like maybe 30 seconds or so, if that, and then blot that up with a paper towel. I'll go ahead and pick that up, and you can see it leaves behind some nice light areas in my Distress ink. And that's exactly what I was wanting to do there. I am going to use the Dotted Detail Heart die as well, so I'm trying to decide the best placement for that, and I'm leaning towards the right side of the card, which is what I ended up doing. I'm just kind of laying out my different elements, seeing if I like how everything looks. I do have another rectangle. I die cut that Dotted Detail frame again, so this is exactly the same size. And I'm going to be stacking those frames one on top of another. So on this solid rectangle, I'm going to apply the Spun Sugar Distress ink. I don't need a ton of it. I just need a little bit kind of coming down from where the scripty word is towards the bottom. Again, I'm going to spritz that, blot it up, this is very, very faint. I did not want this to be very dark. Now over this, I am going to go ahead and take a stencil from Simon Says Stamp and apply a little bit of a design so that the top portion of my card is going to look a little different than the bottom. This is going to add some interest down below where there's not going to be quite as much going on. This is the Diagonal Stripes stencil, like I said, from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm applying the Spun Sugar Distress ink through it, not completely covering it, just kind of random. And you can see that great design. Not only can you see the distressing where I spritzed it with water and blotted it dry, but you can see that great diagonal line detail. So it's going to really add some interest to the bottom part of the card. I did die cut that dotted detail heart there, and I'm going to just lay this over my bottom panel and see how that looks. And I love the difference so that the top part of the card looks a little bit different than the bottom, where that Happy Valentine's Day intersects those two pieces. I am going to stamp a greeting from the Oh Happy Birds stamp set underneath Happy Valentine's Day to finish off my greeting. The greeting will read, Happy Valentine's Day, love you so much. And I'm going to stamp that with some black dye ink. Originally, I kind of thought I'd keep that pink heart there, but I decided I needed to have something contrasting, and I needed to bring some more red into the card. I also originally kind of thought that I would use a pink bird, but after I played around with it a little bit, I decided I needed a red one. I stamped this bird on some smooth watercolor cardstock, and I'm coloring it in with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. The colors are shown across the top of the screen. Really quick and easy coloring. In fact, I did this for both birds. I'm only showing how I colored one, but both are colored exactly the same. I die cut another heart from the watercolor cardstock, and I'm coloring it in with the Candied Apple ink. Once I kind of laid everything out, I realized I thought the card needed more red on it, and I needed that heart to have more contrast. So I'm working now with my heart, trying to get it to look the way I want. And when I first spritzed it with water and blotted it, I took too much of that red ink, I felt like. So I kind of worked on this, kept applying ink and spritzing it with water, letting it sit for different amounts of time until I got the heart to look the way I wanted. Once that is dry, I can go ahead and inlay that into my card design. So I'm letting it sit for a little bit longer this time. I'll blot that up. And again, I took too much ink. This was just one of those strange things where I think I didn't either wait long enough or something. So I had to work on it a few times, but I didn't have to die cut another heart, which was great. This looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. And I'm playing around with either the pink bird or the red bird. I decided to go with the red birds. So what I'm going to do is just kind of save even that pink heart and the pink bird for another project. I'm adding some strong adhesive to the back of the top part of my panel, and then a little liquid adhesive along that die cut greeting edge. And I'm going to overlay this top part of the panel over the stripy panel. Then I'm going to take some Zig glue pen and add some little dots of glue on the back of the Happy Valentine's Day greeting. And then I'm going to inlay that with the top part of the panel. So even though the bottom part is not really going to be an inlay, the top part is. And I'll go ahead and replace this really carefully. One thing about coloring with distress ink, you have to be really careful that any liquid, including the liquid adhesive, doesn't smudge your project. I did smudge the project just a little bit, so I had to kind of take a little paintbrush dipped in water to kind of pick up some of that red ink that I smudged. I also colored in the apostrophe and the dot for the I with the Candied Apple Distress ink, and I'm replacing those using a quick stick tool. A little too much glue got there, so I'm just using the tip of a paper towel to pick up any of that excess glue. The card's kind of coming together now. You can really see what it's going to look like, which I think is super fun. I'm going to use some medium-sized glue dots, and I realized I forgot to add glue dots to the back of the heart, so I'll go ahead and do that. These are really nice and strong adhesive. I'll inlay the heart and then go ahead and attach both of my red birds, one on either side of that heart. And then I'm going to also take the 2 mini solid hearts from the Oh Happy Birds stamp set and stamp those throughout my card design using the picked raspberry and candied apple rather, distress inks. I tried the sponge sugar and it was just a little too light. You can see it there. It didn't really show up, so I went ahead and stamped over that using the picked raspberry. So I kept to the picked raspberry and candied apple distress inks. And I think that rounds out that heart design, especially with that nice die cut inlay heart, and just kind of helps with the whole design of that card there, or the style and theme. I can go ahead now and take a white card base. Oh, I forgot, I did add some cute little white detail to the tummies of both of the birds. And then I will take the Simon Says Stamp side fold white card base, and I am going to attach this panel to the center of that card. I'm going to use a Teflon bone folder to get a nice crease, use a nice strong adhesive on the back of this panel, and center it on my card base. Once I have that centered, I'm going to go ahead and take the Zig glue pen and draw a glue line all the way around all 4 edges. Because that dotted detail frame is so skinny, I want to make sure my glue is right next to this rectangle so that none of it comes out from underneath the frame. And then I'll simply lay my frame down in place. I am going to use some acrylic blocks to hold that down while the glue dries for a second. I have 2 of these frames because I die cut that panel twice. I'm going to use both of them and stack them one on top of another. So again, I'm just going to draw that line of glue around all 4 sides and stack that second frame on top. And that's really going to give me that inlay style design because those layers are going to be flush now. Again, I'm going to use something heavy on top of that while the glue dries. I'm going to take the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen and go over the birds. Because I used the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, it is going to pick up a little bit of the color, so make sure you have a scrap piece of paper or a paper towel to clean off the tip of the marker with so you don't contaminate anything else. I went over the hearts as well, and then I'm going to finish with a scattering of Pretty Pink Posh Sweetheart Mix sequins to finish off this sweet bird-themed Valentine's Day card. Thanks for watching this video showcasing lots of new Mama Elephant stamps and dies from the January 2016 release. The supplies I've used to create this card are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Here are a couple more Valentine's themed videos you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.